Summer had arrived, bringing with it scorching heat. The air was heavy and dry, yet in the hills, forests, and rivers, the season felt different. The shade of towering trees, the cool touch of flowing water, and the mountain breeze made it a perfect refuge from the relentless sun. A girl was preparing to visit her uncle's house. Her name was Hotaru. As she packed her bags, her mother reminded her not to trouble her uncle too much, to pack properly, and to take care of her luggage, especially not to forget it on the train. Hotaru reassured her mother. This wasn't her first time visiting. She went there every summer, so there was no need to worry. Once ready, she stepped out of the house and waited at the bus stop. As she stood there, a distant memory surfaced, and she whispered, "The first time I met him, I was 6 years old." The story shifted to a flashback. It was summer when young Hotaru, only 6 years old, wandered into a dense forest. The place was known as the Mountain God's Forest, a land where spirits were said to reside. After searching for an exit in vain, exhaustion took over. Lost and alone, fear crept in and she began to cry. Just then, a voice called out, "Hey, Shorty!" Startled, she looked around but saw no one. Then behind a tree, she spotted a boy wearing a mask. The boy asked, "Why are you crying?" Relieved to see another person, Hotaru ran toward him, exclaiming, "It's a person, I'm saved." But before she could reach him, the boy quickly stepped aside. Hotaru stumbled forward, landing face first on the ground. Grinning, she looked up at him. Apologetically, the boy said, "You're a human child, right? If a human touches me, I'll disappear." Hotaru's eyes widened. "Disappear? You're not human?" The boy replied, "I'm something that lives in this forest." Hotaru's curiosity grew. "Then are you a spirit? And what do you mean you'll disappear?" Determined to test his words, she reached out, trying to touch him. The boy dodged each attempt until finally, he smacked her on the head with a stick to stop her. Tears welled up in Hotaru's eyes. "Yee, you're really not human after all. No human would hit a child like that." The boy sighed. "To disappear means to be erased. It's a spell placed on me by the mountain god. If a human touches me, that will be my end." Hotaru's expression changed, realizing the gravity of his words. She immediately apologized. The boy extended one end of the stick to her. "Hold this, I'll lead you out." Excited, Hotaru rushed toward him again, only to be met with another smack on the head. "Didn't I just tell you?" She apologized once more, and this time she held the stick properly. As they walked side by side, Hotaru giggled. "It's just like going on a date." The boy smirked. "Not a very romantic one." After a brief pause, he asked, "You're not afraid?" Hotaru tilted her head. "Of what?" "Never mind," he muttered. Eventually, they reached the edge of the forest. The boy pointed toward the road leading back to her village. "Go on." Before leaving, Hotaru hesitated. "Will you always be here? If I come back, can we meet again?" The boy turned away. "This is the forest where the mountain god and spirits live. Step inside and you'll lose your way forever. You shouldn't come back." Then, after a pause, he added, "That's what the villagers say, right?" Hotaru ignored his warning. "I'm Takegawa Hotaru, and you?" The boy did not say anything. There was a silence for a moment, like he wanted to tell, but he was afraid, so he kept silent. Breaking the silence, "Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow with a thank you present." She turns and starts to run. Then she hears suddenly, "It's Gin." She stops, turns back, but sees no one. As Hotaru walked out of the forest, she ran into her uncle, who had been searching for her. The moment she saw him, relief overwhelmed her, and she burst into tears, rushing toward him. Instead of a comforting hug, her uncle smacked her lightly on the head. "If you wander into the forest alone and get hurt, what are you going to do?" he scolded gently. Holding hands, they walked home together. On the way, Hotaru curiously asked, "Is it true that spirits live in that forest?" Her uncle smiled, recalling his childhood. When he was younger, he and his friends often sneaked into the forest, hoping to see spirits. Though they never truly saw one, there were moments when he felt he glimpsed something from the corner of his eye. He then shared an old village tale. Long ago, her grandmother, Iwa, and her friends attended a summer festival deep in the forest. But no village had ever hosted a festival there, so whose festival had they stumbled into? To this day, many believe they unknowingly wandered into a gathering of spirits. The next day, as promised, Hotaru returned to the forest. At the torii gate, she found Jin waiting for her, though he seemed surprised that she had actually come back. Overjoyed, she rushed toward him again, forgetting the warning from the previous day. Before she could reach him, he stopped her with a quick smack on the head using a stick, reminding her once more that she couldn't touch him. Amused yet exasperated, Gin decided to take her deeper into the forest, promising to bring her back later. As they walked, Hotaru marveled at the serene beauty of the place, its towering trees and soft, filtered sunlight giving it an almost otherworldly feel. Suddenly, a black shadowy figure emerged before them, an eerie spirit. It fixated on Hotaru and curiously asked Jin if she was a human, even wondering aloud if it could eat her. Startled, Hotaru instinctively hid behind Gin, but he calmly dismissed the spirit's words, making it clear that she was his friend. The spirit, accepting this, gave a final warning that Hotaru must never touch Gin, or else it would have to devour her. Before the tense atmosphere could linger, Jin sneezed unexpectedly, startling the black spirit. In an instant, it transformed into a small fox and darted away into the forest. Jin said, "He's another one of the spirits. He transforms to scare people, but he's all bark and no bite." Hotaru, regaining her composure, excitedly realized that she had just witnessed a real spirit. Her amazement grew, confirming to her that the stories about spirits in the forest were true. As they continued their walk, she grew more curious about Gin, particularly about the mask he always wore. When she asked him about it, he dismissed her question without giving a real answer. Instead, he turned the conversation toward her, asking about her life. She smiled and eagerly shared her experiences, and as they talked, their bond deepened. Day after day, Hotaru returned to the forest, spending every afternoon with Gin. They played games, explored the woods, and shared stories, creating countless cherished memories together. Back in the present, older Hotaru sat on a train, lost in thought. She reminisced about those summers spent in the forest, the laughter, the adventures, and the quiet moments with Jin. The flashback continued, showing how their routine had become a treasured tradition. No matter how much time passed, the warmth of those summers remained unchanged. A bond formed between a human girl and a spirit who could never be touched. One afternoon, as Jin lay resting under the trees, Hotaru sat beside him, watching him closely. He looked peaceful, almost as if he had fallen asleep. Curiosity sparked within her. What did he look like without his mask? She reasoned that touching his mask wouldn't hurt, right? Slowly, she reached out and carefully lifted the mask, just enough to catch a glimpse of his face. Her breath caught. He was beautiful. But before she could take in his features fully, Jin's eyes suddenly opened. Startled, she panicked and hurriedly banged the mask back onto his face. Amused, Jin teased her, calling her a scary little lady for attacking someone in their sleep. Embarrassed, Hotaru quickly apologized, accusing him of pretending to be asleep the whole time. Jin then asked if he looked normal to her. Instead of answering, she questioned why he wore the mask in the first place. He simply replied that without it, he didn't look like a spirit. They spent the rest of the day together, their bond growing deeper. But as the sun began to set, Hotaru hesitated before speaking. She finally admitted that she wouldn't be able to visit tomorrow. Her summer stay at her uncle's house had come to an end, and she had to return home. Jin, caught off guard, fell silent before asking if she would come back next year. She smiled and nodded, and just like that, summer became something she longed for. The next year, when summer arrived, Jin was waiting for her, just as they had promised. Their secret meetings continued, and each visit was filled with laughter and adventure. They spent their days exploring the forest, playing games, and sharing stories. One day, as they walked through the woods, a tree spirit suddenly extended a branch, wrapping around Jin. In a warning voice, the spirit told him to stay away from the human girl, reminding him that a single touch would erase him from existence. But Gin remained calm, reassuring the spirit that Hotaru wasn't a threat. After a brief hesitation, the tree spirit finally released him, though it left Hotaru with a chilling warning. She must never touch him. Watching the spirits interact with him, she wondered, if they could touch him, then why couldn't she? As the summers passed, their bond deepened. 2 summers, then 3. One afternoon, Hotaru decided to play a trick on Jin. Running ahead, she found a sturdy tree branch and climbed onto it. The moment he came into view, she shouted loudly, hoping to startle him. But Jin, unimpressed, simply looked at her and asked what she was doing. Disappointed that her plan had failed, she giggled and admitted she had wanted to see his scared face. Then, hesitantly, she made a small request. Could he take off his mask, at least when they were alone? Jin obliged, removing the mask. He asked if there was a reason, but before she could answer, the branch beneath her suddenly snapped. She plummeted downward. Instinctively, Jin lunged forward, his hands reaching out to catch her, but at the last moment, he stopped himself. Fortunately, she landed in the bushes below, unharmed. Jin, feeling guilty, apologized for not catching her. Hotaru, relieved, simply smiled. "No matter what, don't ever touch me, okay?" she said. But as she spoke, tears welled up in her eyes, and soon she was sobbing, not from physical pain, but from something deeper. No matter what, she couldn't touch him. No matter what, he could never hold her. As time passed, Hotaru grew older, returning to the forest each summer. One particular year, she arrived wearing her school uniform, proudly announcing that she was now in 5th grade. Jin, watching her, smiled and remarked that she was beginning to look like a woman. She confidently replied, "I am a woman." She began to notice something. While she continued to grow, Jin remained nearly unchanged. Their ages, which once felt so distant, were slowly getting closer. But while she matured year by year, he aged far more slowly, as if time barely touched him. That summer, they spent the day as they always did, wandering through the forest, playing games, and even flying a kite together. The days felt endless, yet she couldn't shake the thought that eventually she would outgrow him. Back at home, she thought about it, realizing that one day she would be older than Jin. The idea unsettled her. While eating watermelon with her uncle, he casually mentioned, "This summer has been so hot. That means the winter will be just as harsh. Since this area is located between mountains and the oceans far away, the temperature difference between summer and winter is huge. The cold of a winter that follows an especially hot summer could probably freeze the mountain god himself." Before leaving for the city, Hotaru made one last visit to the forest. She handed Jin a scarf, hoping it would keep him warm through the cold months. Jin accepted it with a gentle smile, promising to wait for her again next summer. Winter arrived, and though Hotaru was back in her city, her thoughts never left Jin. She found herself distracted, unable to focus on school, even losing her appetite. As she walked to class one morning, an overwhelming longing washed over her. "I want to see him. I want to touch him." When summer finally came, she returned to her uncle's village once again. Now a high school student, she had changed even more. As she made her way to the forest, she found Jin waiting for her. Jin teased her, noting that she no longer ran toward him like before. She smiled and admitted that after getting smacked on the head so many times, she had finally learned her lesson. But in truth, it wasn't just that. Hotaru had matured. She wasn't a child anymore. Looking at him, she confessed her plans. After 3 years, once she graduated, she intended to find a job in the village so she could stay with him, not just in summer, but through every season. However, Jin didn't react with joy. Instead, a troubled expression crossed his face. It wasn't what he wanted to hear. He feared that she was putting her life on hold for him, that she was sacrificing opportunities just to be with him. And in return, what could he offer her? Finally, he decided it was time to tell her the truth. Jin revealed that he wasn't truly a spirit, yet he wasn't human either. He explained that as a baby, he had been abandoned in the forest. Left alone, he cried endlessly, as if hoping his parents would return for him. The spirits of the forest gathered, watching him wail. One playful spirit plucked a mask and placed it on his face, which to their surprise made him stop crying and laugh instead. The mountain god, taking pity on the abandoned child, cast a spell on him, one that would allow him to continue living, but at a price. His body, now sustained by magic, would be fragile. If he ever touched a real human, the spell would break and he would vanish forever. Hearing this, Hotaru interrupted him. Something so delicate, something that disappears with a single touch. It's just like snow. Looking at him with determination, she confessed. Even during winter, spring, and every season in between, she had thought of him. She pleaded with him not to forget her, even if time eventually separated them. Until then, they would stay together. As the bond between Hotaru and Jin deepened over the years, they could no longer deny their feelings for each other. One evening, Jin excitedly told Hotaru about a special event, the Spirit Festival, a celebration that mimicked human festivals. In the past, he hadn't invited her, thinking she might get scared, but now he wanted her to come. He asked her to meet him at their usual place at 8. Hotaru relays that it might be the same festival her grandmother and her friend visited. She hesitated. A festival full of spirits sounded a little unsettling, but Jin reassured her, saying it wasn't much different from a human festival and that he would protect her. Hearing this, she joked about wanting to glomp him, to which he teased, "Then do it." That night, the festival was breathtaking. Lanterns illuminated the area and spirits in disguises filled the lively stalls. It truly looked like a human festival. As they walked through the event, Jin handed her a white cloth and told her to wear it so she wouldn't get lost. She chuckled, calling it just like a date. Jin smiled and replied, "This is a date." They wandered together, enjoying the festival's wonders. Hotaru laughed at the strange yet fascinating things she saw. As they walked home, their hands still tied together with the scarf, Hotaru marveled at the festival's disguises. It was like a grand game of mimicry. Jin nodded, saying it was the same every year. But then, with a quiet sincerity, he confessed he could no longer wait for summer to arrive each year. Even though he couldn't be among humans, he wanted to see her. Then, removing his mask, he gently placed it over her face and kissed her through it. His first and only kiss, a bittersweet moment untouched by his curse. Hotaru felt an ache in her heart. Something didn't feel right. This moment felt like a farewell. He won't come next summer. A sudden commotion interrupted her thoughts. 2 children ran past them, laughing. In an instant, one of the boys tripped and was about to fall. Without thinking, Gin instinctively reached out and caught him. The boy smiled, thanked him, and ran off. But then, Hotaru froze, a bright glow spread from Gin's fingertips. The child was human. Jin looked at his hand, realizing what had happened. His body shimmered, the magic unraveling. He was fading away. Hotaru's heart shattered as she watched him smile gently, opening his arms toward her. "Come here, Hotaru. I can finally touch you." Without hesitation, she ran into his embrace. For the first time, she held him, truly held him. All those years of longing, all the moments of restraint, and now she could finally touch him. And yet, the happiness was fleeting. Gin's body dissolved into light, disappearing from her arms. Her joy turned into sorrow. Tears streamed down her face as she clutched the empty space where he had been, sobbing for all the summers they had spent together and the summers they would never have again. Gin's final words echoed in the air, "I love you." Hotaru, trembling, whispered back, "I love you too." She picked up his mask, pressing it to her chest. The spirits of the forest gathered around her, watching silently. One spoke softly, thanking her. Another explained, "We wanted to be with Gin forever." But Jin had always longed to touch a human. In the end, he got his wish. Hotaru stood there, overwhelmed with grief and yet grateful for the warmth that still lingered in her hands. She knew she wouldn't be able to look forward to summer for a long time. The memories would bring pain, the tears would be endless, but the warmth would never fade. A story that stays with you. This tale is truly heartbreaking. It captures the painful reality that the person who gives you your most cherished memories eventually becomes just a memory.